Some jets are famous. You know the names: the Phantom, the Tomcat, the Raptor. They are household names, posters on a bedroom wall. But then, another kind of legend, a whisper, a rumor, a story told in hushed tones in dusty hangars. They talk about a jet more than metal and wire. They talk about the F-47. When they do, a funny look appears in their eyes, a look of awe, a look of fear. Why? The official story, the one in books, is a lie. Not half the story, not even a quarter. Books call the F-47 a moderate success, an interceptor from a bygone era, a stepping stone to greater things. They show grainy photos. It sits on a runway, looking ordinary. That right there is the first lie, the greatest trick the F-47 ever pulled, convincing the world it was boring. It was designed to be underestimated, to be overlooked, to be forgotten. So what was the F-47 really? Look at a picture of the F-47. Go on, it looks fine. Pointy nose, two engines, wings swept back at a fairly standard angle. You'd walk past it in a museum without a second glance. You'd think it was just another Cold War relic, a product of its time, but that's the genius of it. Its shape was a costume, a disguise. The real magic was hidden away, tucked inside its frame where no one could see it. The designers were told to make it look conventional. They were ordered to make it look uninspired. The plan was simple. If it looked boring, no one would bother trying to steal its secrets. The airframe itself was not what it seemed, while everyone else was building jets out of aluminium and titanium. The F-47 had something else mixed in, a composite material that was decades ahead of its time. It was a secret blend of carbon fibers and a strange crystalline polymer. This made the jet incredibly light yet unbelievably strong. This strength allowed it to pull maneuvers that would have ripped the wings off any other jet of its era. The F-47 wasn't just a jet, it was a magic trick. Every great jet has a great engine, the heart of the beast, the source of the thunder. The F-14 had its powerful Pratt and Whitneys. The MiG-25 had its monstrous Tumanskys. The F-47? Officially, it had a pair of modified J-79 engines. They were noisy, they were smoky, they were thirsty. The official story is once again a load of absolute codswallop. The engines in the operational F-47S were something else entirely. They were a secret project within a secret project. These engines were called the Stille Geist. That's German for silent ghost. A hybrid design, part traditional jet turbine, part something else. At low speeds they worked like any other jet. But push the throttle and a secondary combustion system kicked in. It injected a secret hypergolic fuel mixture into the exhaust. A massive instant surge of power, with almost no increase in noise. The jet accelerated violently, but the sound barely changed. Pilots called it the whispering death. The F-47 did it every Tuesday, and the world was none the wiser. So you have a jet that's nearly invisible to radar and can move without making a sound. What do you do with it? You send it to places that don't exist, on missions that never happened. The official flight logs of the F-47 squadron are the most boring documents you will ever read. Training exercises, ferry flights, maintenance checks. According to the paperwork, these multi-million-dollar wonder jets spent most of their lives collecting dust in a hangar. This, of course, was the biggest lie of all. The real flight logs were kept in a different book, a book that was burned after every single mission. One of its most famous yet completely unacknowledged operations was Operation Looking Glass. In the mid-1980s, a new type of Soviet submarine was being tested in the Barents Sea. A sub so quiet our own Navy couldn't track it. The mission was simple: get pictures. But the sub-base was deep inside the most heavily defended airspace on the planet. So they sent the F-47, a lone jet, flying in the dead of night. The pilot flew at over 60,000 feet, right over the top of the Soviet air defense network. He was a ghost. He was in and out in less than 15 minutes. The Soviets never even knew he was there. So we've talked about the F-47's radar-absorbing skin, how it made the jet look like a bird on those old radar screens. That was clever, but just level one. The real party trick was something else. The skin wasn't just painted, it was active, a system. Embedded were millions of microscopic cells, codenamed Chameleon, pure witchcraft. First, manage the heat signature. The jet's engine pumps out a hot plume, a target. Thermoelectric coolers sucked heat from the exhaust. Heat was spread across the aircraft's surface. Instead of a hot spot, a faint, lukewarm glow. Second, change the jet's visual appearance. Electrochromic cells, like sunglasses. They could change color. They could project simple patterns. The system sampled light from above the aircraft, then painted the jet to match the background. Flying high, the top would turn indigo. Flying low over the desert, the bottom would shift sandy brown. It was a weapon, a phantom of the skies. Flying a normal jet is hard work. Flying a high-performance fighter is even harder. You are constantly managing systems, watching gauges, trying not to black out. Flying the F-47, however, was said to be different. Pilots described a strange connection with the machine, as if the jet knew what they wanted to do before they did it. A revolutionary flight control system called Reflex. It bordered on telepathy. Reflex was an early form of artificial intelligence, a network of sensors throughout the airframe, in the pilot's helmet, in the flight suit. These sensors monitored everything: heart rate, breathing, tiny unconscious muscle movements in the hands. The system learned its pilot. In a tight dogfight, a pilot might tense their arm just before yanking the stick back. Reflex would detect that tension. It anticipated the command. It began moving control surfaces a millisecond before the stick moved. The F-47 felt alive, an extension of the pilot's body. Every complex machine has its quirks, its gremlins. The F-47 was no different, but its quirks were stranger. We've talked about the reflex system. Well, sometimes it learned a little too well. The system was designed to be wiped after every few hundred flight hours, but pilots started to notice something odd. The jets that went a long time without a memory wipe started to develop personalities. One famous story from the squadron tells of a jet, call sign Echo 7. Its last pilot had been incredibly aggressive. He loved to fly low and fast. He was killed in a car accident. The next pilot to fly Echo 7 was a much calmer, more cautious type, but he found the jet fighting him. On low-level flights, the reflex system would subtly try to push the nose down, a little bit faster. It was as if the ghost of the old pilot was still in the controls, urging the jet to fly his way. It was deeply unsettling. Engineers tried to understand it. A jet with a soul. The official story is that the F-47 fleet was retired in the late 1990s. The program was deemed too expensive. Newer, more conventional jets could do the job, they said. The surviving airframes were flown to a desert boneyard, chopped up by giant shears, and sold for scrap. There are even a few photos, released to the public, showing bits of F-47 wreckage being loaded onto trucks. But if you look closely at those photos, something is wrong. The pieces of wreckage don't quite match the known schematics. The angles are wrong. The internal structures are too simple. It's a stage play. A fabrication. The F-47s were never scrapped. On a specific day in 1998, the entire remaining squadron took off from their secret base. Their flight plan was filed for a routine cross-country training exercise. They took off, formed up, and climbed to their cruising altitude. They headed out over the Pacific Ocean, and then, one by one, they vanished from radar. They vanished completely. No distress calls, no wreckage, nothing. An entire squadron of the most advanced jets ever built simply ceased to exist. We don't know what happened. So here we are, at the end of the story. We've peeled back some of the layers. We've seen that the F-47 was no ordinary jet. It had a stealthy, super-strong body. It had silent, powerful engines. It had skin that could change color and hide its heat. It had a near-telepathic flight system that developed ghosts of its own. It flew missions that are still denied to this day, before vanishing off the face of the earth in an event that defies all logical explanation. But the biggest secret of all is not about what the F-47 was. It's about what it became. The final great secret is this. The F-47 program never ended. It just evolved. The disappearance was not an end, but a transformation. The technology was too valuable to scrap, too dangerous to keep in conventional aircraft, so it was moved. All that research, all that genius, all that strangeness from the reflex AI, the chameleon skin, was rolled into a new project, a project that is active right now, a project that doesn't build jets, it builds something else. Unmanned aerial vehicles, drones, but not the drones you see on the news. Think about it, a silent engine, a body that doesn't show up on radar, skin that can blend into the background, an AI that can anticipate and react faster than any human pilot. These are not the features of a fighter jet. They are the perfect features for an unmanned, autonomous spy platform. The F-47 wasn't the ultimate fighter, it was the test bed, it was the bridge. The world still does not know that the legacy of the F-47 is flying above our heads right now.